Welcome to Fuller Butz, a behind-the-scenes plastic surgery podcast. Yes, you heard that right. Join your co-hosts, Dr. Sam Fuller and Dr. Dan Butz, board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeons, on an exclusive full-access pass into the world of plastic surgery. Combining their expertise and training, Drs. Fuller and Butz will share medical insights, detailed explanations, and lighthearted humor to keep you entertained and informed. We're certain you'll become passionate about the plastic surgery specialty, and between debunking myths, uncovering truths, or just making you laugh out loud at their perspective on this creative and artistic field, we've got something for everyone. From tummy tucks to Botox and mommy makeovers to surgery do-overs, the Fuller Butz podcast will surely satisfy your podcast fix.
Hello and welcome to another engaging episode of the Fuller Butz podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Sam Fuller, and today we are putting under the microscope my co-host, Dr. Dan Butz, as a reintroduction episode. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I don't really like talking about myself, but here we are, Fuller Butz podcast. We gotta let people know what we're all about. So
you had a wonderful family-driven post recently showcasing some wonderful memories from the past year that we'll hopefully dive into. But if you didn't catch the episode about the reintroduction of Dr. Fuller, essentially, we're in season 3. We have lots of repeat listeners, but also some new ones. We want to just quickly give an overview, some new changes that have occurred in our practices and our lives. And today it's all about talking about Dr. Dan Butz. Do you want to discuss maybe your initial, briefly training, upbringing, wherever you see fit, wherever you want to start from? And then I can just kind of dot in some wonderful questions so we can understand the myth, the man, the legend.
Yeah. So I'm mostly, Wisconsin, born and raised. I grew up in Green Bay, obviously a big Packer fan. Went to college, small D3 school outside of Madison where I played soccer throughout my time there. And then went to Medical College, Wisconsin. So again, most of my early education here in Wisconsin, and then went off to University of Chicago where we became good friends. We're a year apart in residency for 6 years. And then I did an additional fellowship in San Francisco before moving back to Milwaukee, where my wife and I kind of always knew we wanted to settle and start a practice. So I've been in practice now, 8, going on 9 years? You said 10. So I feel like I'm only at 9 years or 8 years. I don't know, 8 to 9 years, we'll say. And my practice, early on started, kind of more general plastics, was doing a lot of breast reconstruction, some, skin cancers, and then slowly started building up, the aesthetic side of my practice, where probably 4 or 5 years ago, I've really kind of just focused solely on breast and body aesthetic surgery now. A lot of breast augmentation, reduction, lifts, tummy tucks, really, kind of pioneered the drainless approach in Wisconsin. It's all, drainless torsoplasties, a lot of these massive weight loss surgeries. So that's, not as diverse of a practice as yours. But I also love that it's kind of very nuanced, and I can really, focus on, trying to, just do these few things really, really good. There's still enough variety, I feel like, that I always stretching my brain a little bit, and really, honing in on some of those, fine-tuned points of the practice. So yeah, that's kind of, the nutshell. We opened our own surgery center about 3 years ago, and that's really, just taken off and made that whole patient experience even better. So it's been really cool to kind of, develop kind of my little mini A team that helps me every day to kind of, optimize things even further. So yeah, 8, 9 years later, and, things have just been super busy and great. And it's kind of a fun looking back at where we came from, residency, kind of the trials of fire, throughout all that, to where we've, both kind of landed now, 3.5 hours apart, but still talking on a several times a week basis, talking about cases, about experiences, life. It's been quite the journey.
Yeah, I just love everything about this podcast. It's a good hobby. It's great for our patients. It's a good way to connect. It's been fun. It's finally able to use the clever name that we had thought about in residency as far as Fuller Butz. If we're not going to be in practice together, we should at least have a podcast together. I'm not sure if you've seen these reels or trends as far as like a get ready with me. But if I was to hashtag and be like, get ready with Dr. Butz, what would that morning look like as you approach, let's say, like a surgery day?
Uh, yeah, normally my alarm goes off at 5:30. I typically snooze maybe once or twice for 8 minutes. Then I get up, shower, put on the same black scrubs every day. It's pretty bland, and also the same black socks. I wear this. I know you have fancy socks. I get Costco Puma socks,
Where are you
and I
getting
wear the
fancy
same
socks
socks
from?
every day.
I got my
Uh,
socks on Amazon.
I
Same.
thought you liked colorful socks.
Oh no! Since I changed to the black scrubs, I kind of just do black now. And
Oh,
actually, you sent me the link to your
black.
black
Yeah.
socks, so I think I use your black socks. Anyways,
um, then I make my coffee. Normally that's getting around 6:15 to 6:30 ish. If the kids aren't up, I wake them up to get them start getting them ready for school, and maybe serve up some breakfast if time allows. And normally I'm out the door by 6:40 to be there by 6:45 6:50 and mark the patient. So it's a pretty consistent routine. Even when I have clinic days, I normally do the same thing and maybe leave a little bit later, like 7. So I go to clinic and kind of do computer work and try to put side by sides together for before and afters and things like that. Kind of prepare for the day.
so I'm not sure if our listeners know what a coffee snob you are. So when we're talking about making that cup of coffee, is that like a press coffee? You're not doing K cups, right? You're doing some
No,
liquid
there's no
coffee.
K cups. For many years, I would do very individual pour overs for my wife and I. Then I recently, about 4 years ago, I got a ratio coffee maker, which kind of mimics a pour over. But I always rotate my subscriptions from a few different places. I'll kind of get them for 6 months or so, and then kind of alternate to a different coffee roaster to kind of keep the different roast fresh. So yeah, I appreciate a good cup of coffee, and on the weekends I often will seek out a small coffee place to get something a little bit different than my normal routine.
And then speaking on the weekends, like how do you spend your free time? We know that you're working those long hours doing those tummy tucks and breast hogs, but after hours, what is it? Is it fishing? Is it woodworking? Is it uh oh, oven pizza oven cooking? Where are we going to find you? What are you be doing with your family?
It seems that you must have watched my recent post. I do. I dabble in a lot of little hobbies. On the weekdays, if I finish early-ish, 3 kids, they're very busy in sports. So normally after I finish in the OR clinic, I'm assigned to picking up one, typically just one, sometimes two of them from a various activity, which is normally an hour or two later than when I finish. So sometimes I'll go out and do some woodworking. In the summer, my daughter particularly loves to fish, so we do a lot of fishing on the weekends when we have time. A lot of times it's early morning or kind of in the evening. I love to cook, so my wife loves making sourdough, so we often make pizzas, which she does most of the work. I get to fire up the pizza oven and spin the pizza pies in there. But I also love grilling meats and things like that. Don't do a lot of smoking of meats yet, but there's always room for new things. But yeah, lots of whatever. I like to build things. So the woodworking is kind of someone will say they need some. I look at the house and I really want a table there, and I'll build it or make new picture frames. It's kind of always keeping my hands busy and my mind busy, trying to improve on not just surgical skills but other technical skills.
Didn't I hire you to make me something out of wood?
Yeah, they're glued up. They're step one is in process.
Okay, because this whole podcast episode was just to confirm that you're making them. And so, hopefully our listeners are understanding that there's more to us than just our before and after pictures and just our website and stuff. We are real people. And even though plastic surgeons, we're, I would say, very approachable and have kids of our own and want to negotiate with them and allow them to reach their goals. Do you have any misconceptions that you want to debunk, or any things that you, our patients or listeners, don't know that you would want them to know about you? Any sort of unique attributes or features, as I'm putting you on the spot for that?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is like my main goal is like to make the patient happy. So whatever their main concern is, I mean, I'm always trying to make sure we achieve that goal. So it's not plastic surgery is not kind of a one size fits all. Everyone gets the same size implant or same size reduction or same time. It's really about communicating their concerns, and then also kind of really trying to provide realistic expectations of what we can deliver. What one surgery can do, how much we can do in one surgery safely, and it's all about trying to give them the results we want to make them feel confident in their own skin. I think you touched on this as well. I mean, there's nothing that brings me more joy than a patient coming in at 3 and 6 months and just being ecstatic with their results. Because that's what we're doing this all for, is to make people happy with how they feel and look.
Yeah, as you were answering, I was like, well, what if I asked myself that question? And I feel like, there's one misconception, is that, plastic surgery, being a plastic surgeon is such a glamorous job, but kind of deal with like glued on, stuff and armpits and taking stitches out, and, kind of some wounds or, foul smelling things. And so it's not as, glamorous, I would say, as you would think. Obviously, my practice in hand world and taking care of like wounds that get sent to me and things like that offer a different avenue to that. But it's not all about like, oh yeah, this is so posh and everything so kind of aesthetically clean and streamlined. There's, even in the operating room, your liposuction is a very traumatic procedure in which you're sucking fat out, and it's interesting how it's portrayed in the media and online on social media, as opposed to how it really happens. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think when we had the social media, that team on, they're like, a lot of people don't really want to see how the sausage is made.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, the results are often spectacular, and patients are very happy. But that recovery phase, it's we sometimes talk about post surgery blues, and it's a process, it's a marathon. You don't maybe breast augmentations are pretty quick and easy, but a lot of these other things are big surgeries. You're swollen, you're not feeling so great, you're limited, and it's a lot of hand holding through that time period, kind of reassuring them things are normal, that things are looking good, and it's easy for us to kind of see how things are going to look when the swelling goes away and when the incisions fade. But for a patient who's the first time going through it, it's a little bit of a harder for them to kind of sometimes visualize that. So yeah, it's not all you know Botox and fillers and quick simple stuff.
Do you have any non-work related goals of 2026? Looking forward to either improving, not proving, either reaching out and trying something new, any travel plans, anything that you have on the docket for 2026 that you're excited about and willing to share?
Yeah, starting in like, I think it was at August, I kind of got back from a trip and wasn't feeling like my healthiest, and kind of just decided to make some changes. Really got into a kettlebell routine, got a sauna, started doing some sauna. My wife and I are doing some saunaing. So just trying to take a little bit more. Is that a word? Saunaing?
Okay, we just know the word. All right.
Take more ownership of, we're busy. We were doing all this stuff. Like, you feel like you're eating mostly healthy, but as we get older, things start to creep up. And I talk to my patients about this all the time. So trying to just take more ownership of my, general health and fitness, and trying to be able to keep up with my kids is kind of also a big thing. So trying to, actually, do what I preach a little bit more, and, focus on getting that protein in, working out, building the muscle to maintain that, because that's, I think, a big thing. So it's been, it wasn't it wasn't a New Year resolution. Started, late fall, but it's kind of fun to see that progress personally, and try to then keep progressing with that.
Do you have a kettlebell kit, like multiple weights? Do you have one? Like how does that
I
work?
started with 3, and I'm up to 5. So as started a little bit
5 pounds?
lighter, and now I'm starting to get some heavier ones. Yeah, no, I have a 45-pound one.
Oh,
Throw that
wow.
thing around. Yeah, I started with I think I have a couple 25, 30. I'm looking at them right now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, where are you?
My misconception, my podcast room is my workout space as well.
Is it also your sauna? Because it looks like you're sweating over there.
Yeah, the sauna was just sounded. It's a little warm in here. So,
well, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always good to invest in yourself and provide that self-care. You're only as good to provide the results for your patients if you're at your best as well. So kudos to you and Meg for investing in that. What other take-home points do you want to share? Anything else that you want me to dive into, or anything that you want to harp on as far as this is your time to get on your soapbox? Is there a surgery that you feel like you explain more than others, or one that you wish you can do more than others? Any favorites, or any other tidbits that would give us some insight onto who you are?
it's a lot of little questions there. Yeah, I think part of my, I don't say problem, but like I was reflecting on 2025 and again social media posts. I think we've joked about this before. I'm like very antisocial on social media, and I was like, I don't really post much at all. So I did put together a little kind of montage of clips of like what I do outside of work, because I try to I have a lot of little hobbies and things like that, and kind of show some of that. But I think it's mostly in my nature of kind of, natural, kind of more introvert to kind of, hide some of those things unless I know people really well. So I think it is good to, you can show people that I'm a normal person. I don't just, make really kind of boring educational videos and post them on Instagram. But I think this podcast is a great way to people to hear our voice in a little bit more extended format. And I love my job. I love my practice, how it's evolved and developed, and the relationships I do get to develop with my patients and watching them kind of go through that process. So there's a lot of other questions you kind of spattered in there. I'm not going to try to hit on right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, podcasting, what a great way for 2 introverts to have our voices heard across the world, to be sitting in our basements alone and connecting on a level that still allows us to be energized in our introvertedness. So thank you to the podcast community for allowing us to be heard. Well, that was great. We wanted to just do a quick snippet. Maybe we'll do a refresher at the end of 2026 to see if you're still sauna-ing and see how what level.
You shriveled up like a raisin.
But you have like 200-pound.
Gotta drink water. That should be my New Year's resolution. I don't drink any water. It's not.
I just started doing
mostly that coffee.
Yeah, I'm trying in between cases to hydrate because I just don't, and it's a balancing act. But great catching up with you as always. Wonderful insight into Dr. Dan Butz. Thanks for listening. You have any other questions, comments, ideas for topics, any guests, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode of the Fuller Butz podcast.
Excellent. Thanks. See you soon.
See ya.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode of Fuller Butz, a behind-the-scenes plastic surgery podcast. Doctors Fuller and Butz are so appreciative of your time and attention. We invite you to subscribe, share, and continue to enjoy our plastic surgery perspective. Feel free to reach out on Instagram at either @SFullerSurgeryMD or @DanielButzMD. That's Butz with a Z for comments, suggestions, and support. Remember, be artsy, stay scientific, and make life fun. We hope you'll join us again on the next episode of Fuller Butz.